I was thinking about this. Like, why did I actually get into it? It's not profound or deep. It's kind of a mystery, but I've always liked cooking. I've always liked making. It's the analog thing, I think. It's like making and using your hands and stuff. Yeah, I'm a keen like foodie and drinky person. So, and it's not just beer as well. It's like I got into wine originally. I do a lot of spirits infusing, and there's mead, cider. So it's the kind of whole world. It's not just beer. Yeah, I think it was kind of a lockdown thing where I just became interested in kind of how it was made. Yeah, actually, it started with wine. So the first thing I made was elderflower wine, which was it's kind of the gateway to the brewing world because it's like water, sugar, and elderflowers, and then you just leave it for a few days, and then you've got wine in like a week or so. So that was my hook, and then I think beer was just the natural progression of that, because it's a bit of a rabbit hole. You kind of get deeper and deeper. So the first step was water. So I used RO water, reverse osmosis. So I stripped everything out of the water. So I had just a kind of blank canvas to work from, and then I used quite a soft water profile. So the next step was the mash. The mash is where you basically steep the grain in water and heat it up to extract the grain. My unit's it's got a basket, so you lift the basket out with all the grain in, and then it kind of drains. And so you're left with this sweet, they call it wort. So you're left with this kind of sweet liquor that once you add the yeast ferments into beer. So you bring the wort to a boil, and that's when you add the hops. So we added Tettnang and Saz. Depending on how much bitterness you want, that determines how long you boil it for. So if you want a bitter beer, you boil the hops for a bit longer. You have to cool it quite quickly. It's called a cold break. So all the proteins drop to the bottom, and you're left with a slightly clearer beer. Yeah, once it's cold, you can then transfer that to the fermenter, and then you add the yeast. And that's when the magic happens. So the yeast eats the sugars and ferments it into alcohol. So you're left with ethanol and CO2, which escapes through the airlock. And then when you put it in a bottle, you add a little bit more sugar. And so the yeast kind of reactivates and eats the sugar. But because you've got the cap on, the CO2 can't escape, so you're creating a fizzy beer. That's the old school way of doing it. The first few beers I did were awful, and then it's quite a steep learning curve. Something would go wrong, you'd say, why did it taste like nail varnish remover? So you look up, why does it taste like nail varnish remover, and it will tell you something. So you kind of incrementally learn, and yeah, they just get better and better, basically. I remember having a few people round, and I try my beer, and they actually liked it. I'm like, this is actually decent, and it was kind of that affirmation, that positive reinforcement that I was like, right, people actually enjoy this.
Exactly.
And it's fun to make, but it's got to be good. It's got to be, the end product's got to be decent. That's good. It's changed over time. So I tried one about a month ago, and it was much boozier, and kind of had this like nut like almondy kind of thing going. But this is really clean, and the Munich malt's lovely. I've been wanting to try a 100% Munich beer for a while now, because you can use it as a base malt. Where I've only ever used it as like 10-15% of the grain bill. So I used I think 80 or so, 75% of Munich, which was quite nice. So it's got a nice colour and quite a nice depth, kind of biscuity, caramelly, kind of bready depth. And it's come out quite nutty as well, which I wasn't expecting. And the hops are quite nice and subtle, but floral. So I think it's quite balanced beer. I'm really happy with it.